Today's video is going to be all about how I taught remotely this past spring. Hi guys, it's Fernanda. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Fernanda. I teach first grade in Arizona. This is going to be my 4th year teaching, and I've documented my entire teaching journey here on this channel, so if you're interested to watch, I'll have some playlists down below. In my last video, I mentioned how I realized I never really sat down and filmed a video about how I taught remotely this past spring, even though I did vlog here and there. A lot of you said that you would like to see a video all about how I taught remotely, so here it is. So another quick disclaimer, this is what I did last spring. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is what I'm going to be doing this upcoming school year, considering that plans for the upcoming school year are still being made. So quick little disclaimer before we get started, I just wanted to say that this is the way that I did it. For some it might be a lot, and for others it might be not enough. Just keep in mind that teaching is all about doing what works best for your students. Personally, my school did not give us a lot of direction about how to approach remote teaching. Instead, teachers were trusted to do what they thought would be most beneficial for their students. So keep that in mind while you're watching this video. So a little bit of background, I do teach at a Title I school, and I had 19 students enrolled in my class. About 2 weeks into distance learning, my school was able to let students check out laptops if they needed one. And I think Comcast also had this thing where they were able to provide internet for those families that needed it. Overall, out of my 19 students, I had 16 students that actively participated every single day throughout remote learning. The ones that were not able to actively participate with everybody else still did their work after on their own, and I'll explain more about that later. So here are the platforms that I used during remote teaching. Just a heads up that I just realized, and it's probably going to happen throughout the whole video. I'm probably going to be switching between the terms remote learning, remote teaching, and distance learning a lot, so I apologize in advance. Alright, so here are the platforms that I used during this time. First platform I use is Class Dojo. My whole school uses this platform for parent communication, so that was a given that I was going to continue using this. I had about 97% of parents sign up for Dojo, and then once this whole thing started, then I was able to have 100% parents on Dojo, so that was really helpful. I used Class Dojo to communicate with parents. Like I mentioned in my last video, I would post links to every single thing that my students needed for the day the night before, so that students could just go ahead and log on to their Dojo account if they wanted to and just click on the link that had their name. This was really easy to parents because they didn't have to keep track of a link or a password or stuff like that. They would just go in and click. The other platform that I used during distance learning was SeeSaw, and that is a digital portfolio app for students. I've been using SeeSaw since my first year of teaching, and I absolutely love it. And SeeSaw was used for student work. The third platform that I used was YouTube, and I used this in 2 ways. First way was to upload any pre-recorded lessons. When it came for pre-recorded lessons, I would pre-record writing lessons to post later. And the second way that I use YouTube is to upload Zoom meeting recordings from that day so that students that weren't able to make the Zoom meeting could still catch up and see what we learned. Fourth platform I used with my class was Zoom, and that was to be able to have virtual meetings with them. And yes, my school was okay with us using Zoom. I know. And yes, my school was okay with teachers using Zoom. I know a lot of districts were not okay with that, but mine was. Then the last thing that I did, that's not really a platform that I think I should still mention, is that I gave the parents option to pick up a hard copy packet. All the worksheets we were going to do during the week, all they had to do was pick it up at school. If they didn't want to do that, they could also print it at home if they wanted to, or simply just complete it on SeeSaw. So my last day of school with my students was March 13th. That was the last day before our spring break. And that was also around the time where we found out that we were not going to go back for at least another 2 weeks. 2 weeks ended up being the entire school year. As soon as I found out other states around me were closing down, I immediately started to try to come up with a plan so that I could be prepared when it happened here in Arizona, because ultimately I knew that it would happen. I made a plan and I shared it on Instagram, and I think I also made a video about it, but that plan quickly changed once I actually started teaching. After the first week of distance learning, I realized that that plan that I had made was not going to work for my students, and I had to redo it. I'll share it here on the screen of what that plan looked like. So now let's move on how I changed my schedule and my plan. So I started off with a new schedule because in my previous plan I was only focusing on teaching phonics live and then having everything else just be independent practice, which I did not personally like, and I wanted to be able to alternate what I taught live. So here's what I did. This is the new schedule that I came up with and that I stuck with for the entire quarter. So on Mondays for a Zoom meeting, I would teach phonemic awareness and phonics. For independent practice, they would have writing, which was a pre-recorded video, and they would also do a math independent practice worksheet. For Tuesday for a Zoom meeting, I would teach a math lesson. Independent practice, they would have writing the same way that they did on Monday, and then they would have reading for independent practice. Whatever they learned the previous day, they would practice it on their own the next day. For Wednesday's Zoom meeting, I would either do a social studies lesson or a science lesson, and independent practice would be writing, math, and reading. For Thursday's Zoom meeting, I would teach math, and independent practice was writing and reading. And finally for Friday, our Zoom meeting would be phonics, and then independent practice was writing and math. Another thing I changed in my plan was that instead of having one big Zoom meeting with all my students, I broke up my class into small groups. I opened up 4 time slots. I had a 9 a.m., a 10 a.m., an 11 a.m., and a 12 p.m. I created a sign up genius for parents to be able to sign up for the time slot that best worked for them. However, I did cap how many students would be in each time slot, and that was 7 students. All right, so now let's go through what I would do during a typical Zoom meeting. So Zoom meetings, I would log in and I would go through the lesson of the day. Like I mentioned in my last video, I put all my lessons for math, science, social studies, and phonics on a Google slide. I have a video kind of covering that, and it's called How to Teach with a Scripted Curriculum, and I kind of show you how I break down a lesson from the teacher's manual and put it over onto a Google Slides presentation. Because I already had most of these lessons already saved on a Google Slides presentation, I would just go ahead and download it as a PDF and then upload that PDF onto the app GoodNotes. So then on the Zoom meeting, while I was using my computer to, use a camera, I would share my iPad screen so they could see the slides and also see me writing on them. This is what it looks like. We just go through this every day. So we go through the sounds that we know. I have a key picture, and we also do like a hand motion with every sound. And then we're introducing 3. I don't know why. I was supposed to introduce them some time ago, but I must have missed them, but I didn't see them anywhere. So I'm introducing AI, AY, and OA. Then we're going to be doing the spelling practice. I put together some dry erase leaves with a bunch of different inserts that look like this. Actually, we're going to think of different ways to make the long A sound, different ways to make the long O sound, and then we're going to write the word for the following pictures. So goat, soap, rain, snail, sheep, cheese, thorn, cart, spray, yawn, foil, couch, and then those are duplicates. And then we're gonna do some chaining. So we just go through the sound. So it'd be like, can I show you? So it'd be like a, hey, and we go hey, 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 put a w in front of it, and that makes way, 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 put us in front of it, and that makes sway. And we just keep going until it's over. And then we are reading some decodable phrases. And then we're doing the worksheet that looks like this. L as in look. Ow as in shout. Oh, you're right. Sorry, my bad. Oi as in oink. As in knock. And what as in wheel. So we actually have a new sound. Right, yeah, we have more than one new sound. So we'll see the first one. The first one's gonna be A, so A and I. So A, oops, let me change it. A and I come together and they make the sound A. And the reason for that is that the letter A is a vowel. Yeah, exactly. So let's do it together. A as in rain. I also have a video on how I mirror my iPad onto a Zoom meeting on my channel, which I'll have a link down below. I did get a few questions on Instagram asking if you have to have an Apple computer to be able to do that, and no, you do not. You also don't have to have an iPad. You just have to have a different device where you can log in to a Zoom meeting through. So once we got done going through the lesson together and played a few review games and stuff like that, we would do the worksheet for that lesson together. However, that was optional. If students thought they could do it on their own successfully, they were more than welcome to just leave the meeting and do it on their own. But there was a lot of students that wanted to stay and do it together, obviously for various reasons. reasons, but one of those reasons I found was they just wanted to hang out together. And that was completely okay with me because they miss each other, I miss them, we all miss each other. After I finished all my small group lessons, I would have a 2 p.m. afternoon check-in with my whole class. This afternoon check-in was more of a social check-in, and I scheduled this so students had the opportunity to see each other a little bit more. This was also an optional meeting. During this meeting, we would play games such as tic-tac-toe, scavenger hunt, hangman. We would do show and tell, we would do directed drawings together, we would do a ton of stuff like that. This meeting also served as an opportunity for students to be able to ask questions if they had any questions regarding the independent work. But again, this ended up being more social. Another thing that I did a little bit, and I wish I would have done a little bit more, were interventions / enrichments. Like I mentioned before, I had a 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and noon group, but my 11 a.m. group was so small that eventually they ended up just joining a different group and just stuck with that group for the rest of the quarter, which in turn opened up the 11 a.m. slot for me. So I decided that because I had that little bit of extra time, I wanted to make the most of it, and I decided to do a little bit of interventions / enrichment. I used a Sign Up Genius again for parents who sign up for a time slot, and they would be 15-minute intervals. So depending on the student, I was able to determine what they needed help with or what they could use enrichment for. So I had 15-minute intervals between 11 to noon, and they also had 15-minute intervals from 1 to 2. I only ended up doing this for a week or two towards the end because that's when I felt like I had everything else already like set and settled, and I felt comfortable enough to add something more to my plate. So that is how lessons will usually go on Zoom. Now for independent practice, my students would log on to their SeeSaw account, which we had been using the entire school year already, so they were pretty familiar on how to use it on their own. I also already have a video on how I use SeeSaw during this time, which I'll have linked down below. So basically, I would just upload the worksheets that we would typically do in the classroom anyway onto a SeeSaw activity, and then I would record the instructions as a voice memo, so just in case they were doing this all on their own, they could have the instructions read to them. Using the activities feature and not just the journal feature on SeeSaw, it was really helpful for me to see which students had done a certain activity and which ones hadn't. Additionally, I also had a few parents that still couldn't really figure out how to use SeeSaw, so instead they would just take a picture of their students' work and send it to me on Dojo, which was totally fine. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I think I've covered it all. If you didn't, or you have any lingering questions, please leave them in the comments below or reach out to me on Instagram. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.